The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome. Guess what? I'm back. Bought a new computer. It's expensive, but I'm here. It's Cris. Shay, what's going on, brother?
Not much, buddy. I have just been, as we were briefly chatting about, I've been battling my insurance company about an insurance claim today. So it's like super exciting middle-aged stuff. I've been having a real
We're
fun
not
time.
going to waste any more time with that because we have, as they call him, the King of Baltimore rock and roll, Mr. Cris Jacobs. What's going on, Cris?
What's up, man? Yeah, I gotta edit that Wikipedia. They let anybody sort of add whatever they.
And that's what I loved about it. I was like, okay, because I saw you and you fucking rip, right? So like it makes 1,000% truth. But it's like, man, the king of rock and roll, this guy is so much more, right? And it's like, it's funny because you're right. If you Google it or if somebody puts it into like Chat GPT or whatever it does, because for me, I'm a psychopath. Like, I don't want to ask you the same questions that everybody asks, right?
Yeah, appreciate that.
I actually was going to bring that up to be like, well, that's full of shit, right? So let's talk about this, right? Because like you're much more than rock and roll, right? But you are Mr. Baltimore, Maryland. My buddy Owen Murphy, he is a devout fan and friend, and he's always shouting for it because he told me in 2022 when you played a renewal, he's like, "Do not miss Cris Jacobs," and that was the truth.
Hey, I was there for that.
You were there for that?
Yes, sir. For as long as I could make it. That was one of those ones where it was I think you were doing the late night set and I'd been running around with my barefoot and I'd cut my foot and it was cold and it was a whole thing. But yes, I was there.
Man, that was a time. What a good time that was.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But like for people that don't know who Cris Jacobs is or some of the journey that you've been on, like what would you tell people first about your story? Because I know what I'm going to talk about.
Okay. Well, I don't know what you're going to talk about, but I've been living in Baltimore for going on, I was born here and then I moved away a little bit and came back and I formed in 2001 a band called The Bridge, and we had like a 10-year kind of heavy touring career, and then we sort of quote unquote retired and we're down to like 1-2 shows a year, and then I kept going just on my own and stayed in Baltimore for it's been probably 25 years since that all happened. Like you said, there's a little rock and roll, but it's I'm just a songwriter and I sort of mix it all in.
But that's exactly what I was going to talk to you about, Cris, because for me, the lyrics and the stories you tell and the depth of emotion that you can portray through your writing is phenomenal to me. And like when I reached out and I got the opportunity to talk to you, I was like, fuck yes. Okay, now I get to like ask this guy, like for these songs that I love that mean something. I told Shay before we started this interview, I was like, I'm going to ask him about these songs, right? And like where they come from. And he's going to go, oh, well, I want you, and give me like a fucking artist answer. And I was like, no, we're not going to let him fucking do that. Cris is going to answer.
Hit me, man.
So you and I talked.
I'm doing the mystique for you by like telling you that, that one was something I thought of. I was on the toilet in about 5 seconds.
Oh, that makes me like a song even more.
Yeah, but hold on. Isn't that how Neil Young wrote Ohio? That's like the lore, right? Like that he did it on the shitter in 15 minutes.
Love it.
Pretty fucking incredible, and how powerful that song is. So we were talking before about having daughters, right? And so for me, the number one thing was daughter, right? And like, God, my wife sent me a video this morning about a young girl like coming of age, right? And still being a little girl. And being the fucking girl dad that I am, I was crying, right? Like I started to tear up and she's like, God damn it, Kodi, are you crying? And I was like, yeah, babe, like, I'm sorry. But like Daughter is one of those songs that like has so much emotion. And to me, it's about you talking to your daughter and what she has to go and live through in the world that she's facing, right? And what's coming from her. And so for me, like, I'd love to hear, like, where you were in your life. Like, is that kind of what, because, like, sometimes songs are, like, what they are, right? And there's definitely lines in there that make sense. But I'd love to learn more, like, about where you were and, like, what you were talking about to your daughters.
I remember that specific one. I remember I was on the road. I was staying at a friend's, like, guest house in L.A., and I remember there was the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And I remember I was chatting on the phone with my good buddy from Paul Hoffman from Green Sky Bluegrass. He's a good friend of mine. He's also a girl dad. And I remember we were just like, dude, like, how fucked up is this? And like, we gotta think of, we gotta write something. And and then we're both like, well, fuck, writing something's not gonna do shit. What else can we do? It's like it was just one of those, it was mass shooting number umpteen, since they've been born. So it was nothing new. But yeah, I just remember hanging up the phone and just picked up my cigar box guitar and just started kind of playing the blues and just started writing. And it was pretty, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it was really just sort of when I was talking to Paul, we were just kind of touching on the fact that they're just being deprived of innocence that we were lucky enough to like maintain for a little bit longer, where like my 8-year-old is like, telling me that they have to do these like, mass shooter drills where like in case a bad guy shows up, and it's, I mean,
our kindergartners are doing it and they're giving them lollipops so that they're quiet. Right.
I mean, it's diabolical. It's like, yeah, they're just too young to have to be that conscious of the world like that. So that was sort of the nuance that I was, not just like, wow, it's so fucked up that people are committing these crimes, but in the perspective of it's not fair to you to have to live through this as young as you are. Like we still need to preserve your innocence yet be vigilant. And and it's sort of like, well, what we can't just live our lives like pissed off and scared, yet we need to be vigilant and tell them what's real. And so it's just that was sort of what the
but isn't it such a challenge as a dad, right? Like even to do that, right? But then to be able to do that through music, it feels like even so much more of a challenge. But you're able to then spread that message rather than just to like one child or one father. You get to spread it to like all these other people, right?
Yeah, I feel lucky that I have that outlet to be able to write about it, even though sometimes it feels like yelling into the void, but it's what I got to to mark it down and seal it up and record it and keep it for hopefully posterity, and just sort of put my stamp on how I feel about it. I hope it helps people. Some you never know. If, I mean, it's certainly like helps me. It's in a cathartic way, and I think it touches people. Whether it helps the problem or not, is another question. But that's that's sort of the weapons that I'm working with, I guess.
Yeah, and so then that's really prominent in you just had an album that was released on the 25th, right?
Yeah.
Called Castaway, which is a 4-song album, which it is beautiful. And I was telling Shay, it is so deep, right? And it's like I know that there was stuff that had happened that you had to cancel stuff on the road, and life happens to all of us, right?
Yeah.
And even you just hearing some of that, like, to be honest, like self-doubt, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm just singing into the void. And that's coming from like Cris Jacobs, where there's so many of us who do look up to you, right? But you still feel that way. And like hearing some of these songs, and Shay and I were talking about, like, I love to listen to songs on Spotify and read through the lyrics as it's going through, right? So because that's something that's really powerful for me, and I feel like you have so much emotion and there's so much depth in these 4 songs. It's only like 17 or 18 minutes of playtime, but like it is such a powerful album. So
really, that's short?
Yeah, it's only 4 songs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was.
I noticed that the other day too. I looked at it on like Apple and was like, 17 minutes. So that's okay.
I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I was just it's yeah. I was like, oh, wow.
No. Yeah, it's well, the full story is that there was 10 songs recorded in that session where those songs were recorded, and it was actually made 3 years ago. And we were coming out of the pandemic, and it was like winter of 2022, and I went down to North Carolina and worked with these guys. A guy named Brad Cook, who's a fantastic producer and bass player, and then his brother Phil plays keyboards, and Matt McGaughan, drummer from Bon Iver and His Golden Messenger, and like a couple of those bands. And so I went down there to make a record, and I was definitely like in the throes of my own stuff at the time, like just coming out of the pandemic was weird time for me. It hit me, like the beginning of the pandemic and like during the pandemic wasn't as bad as coming out of it for me in some ways, because like I was enjoying the like time at home and the time off the road. After all that time, I had just been kind of go, go, go. So it felt like a little breath, and then it obviously got old after a while. But like, and then coming out of it, it felt like I was like a different person than I had been. But yet I was still like trying to do the same thing that I was doing going into it, and I don't know. I was sort of lost at sea a little bit. I lost sort of my North Star of like what kind of artist I was and what kind of songs I wanted to write. And so when I met up with Brad, the producer, he really just encouraged me to just dig deep and just write what I was feeling. And it was definitely not a like, let's all party down kind of record at all. You know what I mean? It was a,
no, you got deep,
working stuff out.
Yeah, you got deep into your emotions, and it's cool because like even though that's what the source is for you to write it, the interpretations for people that listen to it, whether it's like losing a family member or losing a spouse, right, or losing something, or being like at this divide in your life in a career choice, right, or all sorts of different stuff. It's like you can listen to these words and listen to these powerful thoughts and like figure out like, oh, okay. But also it's like, God damn it, man, you gotta like gut punch us to like get through this. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how songs can do that, which is like why I sometimes, when people, not that I'm feeling this way at all with you guys, but when people, want me to like come out and explain the songs and talk, it's like, I feel like sometimes you can do it an injustice by doing that because of the fact of what you're saying, where I think a powerful song reaches people where they're at in different circumstances and different interpretations. And that's what I always loved about, like, for instance, like the Grateful Dead, Robert Hunter's lyrics. Like, they're not just like, here's what this song is about. They're very ambiguous in a really mysterious way, but they conjure feelings. And that's what I've always kind of loved the most about songwriting. So, but I understand, obviously
you hit the nail on the head, and believe me, Chris, you can tell me to fuck off. Many people would be very happy that you did, right? But like with the Dead, there's this video of somebody explaining the Dark Star lyrics, right? And he's like, "What's not to understand?"
Right, exactly.
And it's
like,
all
there, right?
But that's what's so beautiful about it, and it is all there. But like, what I love is I love you as a lyricist, and I haven't even talked about how phenomenal you are as a guitar player.
Oh man, thanks. Yeah, I mean guitar was like my whole entrance into music. Like I started playing guitar when I was a young teenager, and started writing songs sort of just out of necessity of wanting my own songs to jam guitar on. And if you listen to like some of the early Bridge stuff, it was just all about that, really. Like there wasn't a lot of like heavy. I mean, we were young, we didn't have all these heavy stories yet. and it was party music, which was great, and I still love doing stuff like that. And but yeah, as I've evolved as an artist, I'm really trying to bridge the gap of still making it centered around I love playing the guitar. Like that's still my like number one inspiration and staying in this whole life is I just want to play guitar for the rest of my life, and if I can make money with a guitar in my hand, but I also have grown to really appreciate the art of songwriting. So I'm sort of trying to marry the two,
Well, you're doing a great job. And I think it'd be fun for people to learn a little bit more. Like, what was it that sparked that interest in you as a teenager? When did you pick up your first guitar? Did you come from a family of musicians?
Not musicians, but music fans. My parents were huge Deadheads and, just music fans, like great music.
And are they from Maryland?
Yeah, Baltimore. And like they would always go see the Dead for like the weekend and leave us with like my aunt or like a babysitter or something. And, you know, it was like, we thought it was like, my sister and I thought it was like just the lamest shit ever, you know?
Oh shit, is that what my kids think of me now?
Yeah, they will.
No.
They will.
Your kids are going to grow up being like, oh, the Grateful Dead sucks because my dad loves those guys.
Yeah, totally. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And then like, I remember my dad even saying like, I'll bet you, he's like, I bet you $100 by the time you're out of high school, you're begging me to get you tickets. And, you know, he, lo and behold, when I was 15, said, hey, I think they're coming to RFK this summer. He's like, I got you. And I've already cashed your $100 long time ago, you know? But yeah, so, you know, he took me to my first show, RFK Stadium. And that was it. Honestly, it was like, I was like, wow, I want to do this. This looks cool. This seems cool. This is fun. This seemed like a good time.
Was there a song that made you want to go see them at RFK?
I think the first song I mean, I just sort of got into them in general, but the first song that hit me, I think, was like the Uncle John's Band, Working Man's Dead record, like, you know, and then I listened to Working Man's Dead a bunch of times. And then, you know, I was coming of age where, you know, we were starting to experiment with things and, you know, listening to music on different levels. And whenever anybody put on the Dead, it just gave this sense of like calm and bliss. Whereas like other stuff at the time that we were listening to is maybe not conjuring those feelings, you know, and like being a little more edgy and harder and, you know, a little scarier. But the Dead always just had 100%, you know, nothing to worry about vibes for me. And I think that, you know, at that moment in your life, when you're, you know, growing and trying new things and your mind is expanding, it was sort of this blanket of security and comfort to do that with. And so then I had a couple buddies and we all sort of caught the same bug of let's all learn instruments. And, you know, one picked up the bass, one picked up the guitar, one, you know, relearned the keyboards, and we started a little band. We just used to get high and jam in the basement all night long. And then, you know, finally we got some gigs, you know, before I went away to college. We just did like cover tunes.
What was the name of that band, Chris?
We were called Big Fat.
Big Fat.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Big Fat.
I support it.
Yeah. Big fan of Big Fat. So then did you go to school professionally for music, or how did that come about?
Yeah, no, I mean, I went to school, I went to college. You know, I started when I was like 15, 16. So by the time high school was over, I didn't really have much to show for like being a professional musician or like, you know, like, hey, mom and dad, will you pay for me to go to music school? Like, I can't read music. I can barely play at that point. I play a little bit, but you know what I mean? Yeah. So but college was the time that, you know, I was off on my own and I just sort of like dug in and hold up, you know, I just obsessed.
What was the one you had locked and loaded in your back pocket that you're always like, oh, I can fucking rip this song in college when you were just
in college? I had a couple dead tunes, Jerry Licks. I had a couple Zeppelin riffs. I had a couple Hendrix riffs. You know, we did like cover tunes, Allman Brothers, Zeppelin, Santana, Hendrix, The Dead.
Just guitar icons of all time.
Yeah, I'm not saying I could like, you know, I could do the poor man's version, but, and you know, I had a couple.
Don't sell yourself short, brother. You are a phenomenal player and picker.
Oh, thank you, man.
And that's what's wild is because like you play the electric like nobody I've seen, right? And the energy that you can put into that thing as you're bending it, and then for you to come out and then have that bluegrass album, what was that in 2024? Mm-hmm. And seeing you pick like that, it was like, god damn, like
Thanks, dude. You know, when I went to college, I got heavy into bluegrass. That was like the time where like that just hit me really hard. And so that I was like super into bluegrass for a couple years, and it sort of instilled like a really good work ethic, I'd say, because you got to really like practice so much to even be able to like attempt that music. So I sort of, you know, was practicing hours a day, and I've sort of just applied that to whatever, you know, genres I've been trying to, or styles I've been trying to, you know, pick up, you know.
When you got into bluegrass initially, was it because, and I, you know, and I've got a completely different group of friends now, I'm stuck with Kodi, so it's not unusual when I'm like, hey, check out this bluegrass album. All my friends are like, yeah, I've already listened to it. You're late to the party. But originally, when was it one of those things where you got into bluegrass and your friends are like, what is this twangy bullshit you're making us listen to? Or was it the other way around? Was everybody just super into it?
I think it was a little half and half. Yeah, I definitely, I think it was, I mean, there was Old and in the Way that Jerry Garcia was involved in. So like, at least my hippie friends were like, oh, okay, I'll accept this. You know what I mean?
But, Shay wasn't a huge Dead fan. I give him shit and I say he's not a Grateful Dead fan. But we actually had Pete Rowan on the show, and I sent it to him in all caps, being like, "We get to fucking interview Pete," and he's like, "Who?" And I'm like, "God damn it, I fucking kill you!" I was so mad, and you were obviously baiting me, but like I was so disappointed in him in the moment. But it's like those bands played huge role to the foundation of the next generations of music, right?
I mean, I feel like Old and in the Way was like what Billy Strings is now, as far as like just introducing bluegrass to a way bigger audience than would have reached it. I mean, otherwise, I probably myself included with Old and in the Way. I remember my dad had that record, and I was like, "Wow, what is this sound? This is cool. I'd never heard anything like that." And it resonated. So yeah.
So then you're into bluegrass in your college years, but then when did you start transitioning? How did it go? What did you do out of college? How did that journey go?
Yeah, I moved home, back home for what I thought was going to be temporary, while I was sort of just kind of getting my feet on the ground and figuring out what was next. I was considering moving all kinds of places, and as it was, I bumped into an old friend, Kenny Liner, who was like working at the grocery store that I walked into, and he's like, "Oh, I just started playing the mandolin not that long ago," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I love bluegrass. We've been playing," and there was a show that night that we both knew about. It was a house concert. A flat picker named David Greer. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's one of like you should check him out. He's one of the best.
Now I'm gonna go Google it.
Yeah, he's just one of the top, bluegrass guitar players out there, and so he was playing like right in town. So we went together, and then
I'm gonna get fucking roasted in the comments, by the way, for not knowing who David Greer is. But at least I'm honest.
Yeah, you are. Are there comments now? No.
We don't do live. We don't, believe me. With this mouth, I can't go live.
Yeah. Well, David Greer, he's kind of he's not a household name, even though he should be.
Yeah, but I love bluegrass, and I love like old traditional bluegrass. Like I feel
he's very progressive, I'd say too. Like his father was in Bill Monroe's band, I believe, as a banjo player, but he he plays just sick instrumental music, and his playing is just unbelievable. But so we went to that show, and then Kenny and I started hanging out and jamming, and that's how we formed the Bridge. So
that's awesome.
It was sort of like I wasn't planning on sticking around in Baltimore, but then the Bridge happened, and we started playing a show or two, and like a bunch of people started coming out and really digging it, and we sort of developed this little scene that sort of overtook what our expectations were of it, and then kind of off we went. That was and then I was like, oh, I got to write some songs, got to learn how to, like I had written like a song or two, and before that, just like that would never see the light of day, like way back when. So like some.
So what did the process come for? Like you're like, fuck, okay, I got to write, right? So like, what was it? What was the process like for you as a younger man when you had just started this, and then how did that kind of transcend, and what's it like now?
Yeah, I didn't think about it as much, so I wasn't as analytical about it. I just sort of like took what I could get, and it probably started by me copying things that I liked here and there, at least like starting there, and then like we
retreading a tire instead of recreating.
Yeah, we soon realized that like we got some other guys to join us, a bass player and a drummer, and it started to get a little like funky, and like so we were like, okay, we're not bluegrass, this is going to be electric, and so I was sort of like taking some of the things that I had. Like a lot of the early Bridge songs were like bluegrass licks with like funk grooves to them, it's sort of at least how they started. So it was very experimental, and I there was no urgency. That was how I decided that I wanted to really dig into the songwriting. And then, as things went along, I'm just like, man, there's so many guitar players out there. Like, if I'm gonna put my stamp on something, like, and differentiate myself, I think I really need to like hone how to do this. So writing songs, that is. So
when you're writing a song, does it come from the lick first or vice versa, or do you know?
Sometimes.
Because like you play blues, you play folk, you play funk, like you transcend all these genres of music. So when you're writing, do you hear the beat as you're writing it, or are you writing it first? How does that kind of work?
It varies. It really does, depending on the song or what I'm writing it for. Like, for instance, the One of These Days record. Like, I knew I was going to be working with Jerry Douglas, and I was going to be doing like an acoustic based record, and so I was really digging back into that stuff, and so I kind of knew like different vibes and musical moves and tempos and sounds that I wanted to start with. So a lot of times I will start at least to just play without any really idea of where it's going to go, and sometimes I just start singing nonsense until words start kind of forming into place, or at least one word enough to grab onto something to then chase it down. For me, it's all about
You hear it like paired with a tune or a tone
like a
that you're like,
melody.
oh.
Yeah, like mumbling along to a melody, sing. Like the Paul McCartney thing. How that song Yesterday started at the original lyrics he had was scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
And like this whole tune was about scrambled eggs, and he brought it in, and George Martin's like, no, like he's like, okay, sure, I'll just write the like most classic song Yesterday. But anyway, so a lot of times it's that where like it's just a vibe, a musical vibe that I'm working on, that I want to play, that feels good, or like and I'll just start singing, and it's a long process where you just kind of like carve it out of nothing. And then sometimes I will start with words where I'll sit down and just start writing things, or like have a phrase in mind or an idea that I want to write about, and just start writing. And as I'm writing, I can sort of hear the tune start to develop. So it's either way, it's like you grab onto whatever little nugget that you can to kind of like, ride into the song, and then you just sort of find your way in there. That's at least for me. I mean, everybody's got different methods to it, and it's evolved for me over time as well, where like what I used to just probably start more with music, and now these days I'm probably starting more with lyrics, but it's sort of the end results are, they meet up in the middle somewhere.
And so for that album with Jerry Douglas, how did that come about? Did you go and find him? Because he produced that album, right?
He did. Yes, he did.
And he's also
Yeah,
on one of the singles.
he's on Daughter Daughter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the dobro and daughter daughter, exactly.
The lap steel. He plays lap steel on that one.
Oh, he does. Okay,
yes,
sorry.
yeah. He's
Sorry,
playing like the real.
Cody.
God, I'm
It's
just
okay.
getting
It's okay.
2 strikes. I'm so close to being out.
It's okay. The comments will take care of that one for you. But, I met Jerry like the year prior at Delfest, a festival in Cumberland that I've done a bunch of times. He was playing right after me, and he watched my set and was super complimentary and kind to me. Yeah, as I was thinking about a new record, I got kind of jazzed on the idea of taking it back to the bluegrass roots, because it had been such a big part of my foundation, and I'd sort of strayed away from it. It was always there, but I definitely wasn't doing that anymore. And I hit a crossroads too, where like I was discussing with the other thing, where I was just sort of like a little just trying to find my way again. And so I felt like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the well that like was really inspiring to me, a long time ago, and it still is. But the fact that Jerry likes me, let me give him a call. And I called him, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then I was like, yeah, I think I want to do a bluegrass album. And he was like, huh? Because he saw me play with like my electric band.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's interesting. I wouldn't have expected that, but okay. And I think he trusted me, after the fact, he's admitted, like, I wasn't sure he was going to pull it off, but but no,
but he was still there to back you up.
Oh, he was the best. He was the best. I mean, having a guy like that in my corner. Not only was I am a huge fan of his music, but I had no idea what a great producer he was and what a great guy he was. And just, having like that sort of moral, spiritual support from somebody of that caliber goes a long way in pushing the train along, Like when I called him, I had no songs written, and I was like, I'm going to do this. He was like, cool. I was like, all right, let's mark it down. We booked the studio time 6 months ahead of time, and I had 0 songs. And I was like, well, I got to get to work because Jerry Douglas is going to produce this album that I haven't even written. It all worked out well, but I can't say that it was, sometimes discomfort can help sharpen the sword. You know what I mean? And I think I sort of like painted myself into a corner on that one. And there was maybe a moment or two of freak out, but in the end, it all came together.
Well, you can't tell. It's one of my favorite albums. How did Having the Dusters come about? Because they're the house band, right? They played?
Yes, the house band. And so, yeah, like the rewind even before that, like I did a session. They came through Baltimore and called me up to do we have a day off. We're going to go in the studio and just mess around. You want to come in and like record with us and do a song? I was like, yeah, sure. So I did. And I was like, man, I'm going to do a bluegrass album. I'm going to hire you guys to be the band. And then it was like, cool. Yeah, whatever. And then, when this was all sort of like percolating, I called them up and said, would you guys be interested in doing this? I'm working with Jerry. And they're like, okay, yeah, you had me at Jerry. Sure. And then so they signed on. And then as, we went and just kind of did the record with them, but it was like a week in Nashville that we did it. And, we didn't have necessarily like special guests planned yet for it at all. It was just going to be us. But as the songs started happening, it's like, what are we going to work on tomorrow? Okay, let's do these two. And Jerry's like, well, I'm going to call Sam Bush and see if he'll come.
Here comes the mayor at Telluride.
Yeah. And then it was like, all right. And then once that door kind of opened, it was like, all right, well, let's get Billy Strings, let's get McCrary sisters, get Lindsay Lou. It's like I was friends with Billy and Lindsay, and so it wasn't a big thing. But then Leanne Womack, Jerry called and got to sing on a song.
Yes.
With me. I was like, I'd love to get a female harmony on this, and he's like, oh, I'll call Leanne. So having a guy like Jerry obviously helped like that, but it was organic. Was my point of. It wasn't like, let's get as many special guests as we can. It was just like, as songs developed and people were into coming in and doing it, we let it rip,
But that's also got to feel pretty great to have people like that be like, yeah, I'd love to make a song with
Absolutely.
you. Right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm like I say, I think when Jerry Douglas calls, you answer the phone and say yes to most people. But
for sure, but they don't have to say yes to everyone, Chris, right? So it's also for you, which is pretty amazing. And so for us, like, how did the relationship with Billy Strings come about? Because my first experience with you was in that tent, this Wookfoot. I saw your 4 o'clock set where you played like a bunch of your originals. And I was like, man, this guy fucks. Like you were ripping. Like I loved what you were singing about. And I was like, okay, I gotta come back. I had left the Billy show early to get into the tent to get close to see you. Nice. And you guys fucking burnt that place down. Billy came out looking like Stevie Ray Vaughan with his hat and the feather out of his hat. And you guys went to town. So how did that come about? Because now knowing what I know about Castaway and you writing that coming out of COVID, right? This is right after COVID, because that was 2022, I believe, was that year that saw you at Renewal.
Renewal was, I think, September.
Was it
2023? I think.
I don't know. I've been to all of them. They all just blend together.
I think it was that. So I think I'd already recorded Castaway, but when we did Renewal, I think.
Oh wow.
I think I can't really remember honestly, but I believe that's what it was. But yeah, Billy, man, I first met him. I think it was Delfest as well. Or no, he was playing at in Baltimore at the Charm City Bluegrass Festival, and I was playing there too. And we just kind of met backstage, and we had started I think following each other on Instagram, or you hear about people, and we had a lot of mutual friends, and so we said what's up, and then there was like a Delfest I think that summer where he invited me to sit in on his set. I was like the special guest on the Billy set, as if because as if I was doing him a favor or something, but.
Dude, he respects you, and so do we, right?
Well,
and that's what's crazy. It's like
I appreciate
you guys, and I understand. Okay, well, you don't have the astronomical, expansive depth that some of these other musicians have. Wait, what the fuck? Sorry, I don't know.
There he is.
It cut me off. I don't know what the hell happened. But what I was saying is you may not have this expansive knowledge of everybody knowing who you are, but there are a lot of people who know who you are, and a lot of people who respect you as a musician, right? And Billy Strings saw something in you, and that's why he brought you on that time and continues to bring you on, right? Because you not only did you fuck it renewal, you just did the Oh Brother Where Art Thou? I had to couch tour it, but you killed it there too, right?
That was amazing. I mean, I love Billy, man. I think he's the real fucking deal in every way, musically and just as a person. He just hasn't changed since the first day I met him, seemingly. And it's just so, I think, grateful and gracious for his success. And I think he just tries to include, his peers and his friends and people who he believes in, and he doesn't have to do that at all. And so that's I'm super grateful. And not only that, but that show and just watching the production that went into those 2 nights was
wild,
inspiring as hell. It was like a movie set, man. It was you were sitting waiting around till your turn was called. There was wardrobe, there was catering, it was very scheduled to the minute and just on point. And everybody's just a pro, and his whole band is amazing. And
his crew's phenomenal too, right? Everybody behind the scenes, they're all such great human beings. His manager, truly
Bill Turner's a good buddy and a great guy, and has been kind to me. They're all great. Yeah.
And that's what's wild, is because some of this stuff happened with Billy, and he blew up, and we talked about bluegrass, right? And going from Old and In the Way to Billy, he just did a 3-night run at Ball Arena, right? A bluegrass musician is selling out a basketball arena. That is wild, right? Just completely
There was
wild.
Probably one time each night where I stood back and looked at the crowd, and I was like, whoa,
Because,
it's unbelievable.
We're used to 30 to 40 people picks, right? And you're hey, that was a fucking awesome time.
Right. I don't even think he imagined it would get like that. And what's really cool is hearing from guys like Jerry Douglas and Sam Bush, how much they respect it and how in awe of it they are as well. And,
Jerry Douglas, man, he saved Billy's ass, right? Billy went to go be with Allie for the birth of River, and Molly and Jerry stepped up, and
totally.
Jerry took me to the promised land, baby. He was so rhythmic. It was like a Mickey drum session from Drums in Space. He just brought you there, right? And they were phenomenal. They held the stage, and it was a once in a lifetime show, right? And it was cool because you see the respect that not only he gives to other musicians, but that musicians then give back to him. And he's just the fucking most humble dude.
Yeah.
It's wild. Totally. It's wild.
And he rips his ass off, and he's
fucking insane.
The real deal.
Yeah. And so do you. And what I want to talk about is, because I couldn't believe that this happened when you announced this. I think it was just a day or two ago, but you're going to be opening for Little Feat.
Yeah. It's in a couple days. It's starting next week. It's
going
to be awesome. It's one of my favorite bands.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Did they find you? Had you ever played with them? Did you see them somewhere else, or what had happened?
I've never played with Little Feat. I've coincidentally played with Fred Tackett, one of the guitar players. in New Orleans once. Like, you know, he sat in on like a whole set of mine with some other New Orleans musicians, but I don't think that had anything to do with this. Yeah, they, you know, they were looking for support for their tour, and somehow my name got thrown in the hat, and they went with it. And I'm excited, man. I'm
go
super
burn the
excited. I'm
fucking
doing a
house
couple of
down,
them with
Chris.
my band, and then it's gonna be fun, man. I mean, it's some of it. I'm gonna do about half of it with the band and half of it solo. But it's gonna be awesome.
How does that feel for
Littlefield
you
was one of
when?
my.
How does it feel when you don't have the band behind you and you're up there just by yourself?
It depends on the venue and the vibe of the show. You know, like if it's a loud party time kind of place, it's kind of sucks. If it's a situation where people are listening, I quite enjoy playing solo in like certain settings, and you know, like theaters like that where people are, you know, quiet and listening. Obviously, they're great, but trying to play solo in like a loud, you know, like a opening for like a jam band when they're all just like all the people are just like standing up, like ready to rage, can kind of suck.
Yeah.
You know? But I try to still keep it upbeat, you know. But you can only do so much. So,
Well,
but I'm excited.
it's funny that you bring that up because we talked about it in our last episode, and we talk about it a lot, sadly. And it's chompers at shows, right? It's people that are coming to shows to talk during the music, and it's so hard. And we're like, Shay, none of us are small, right? And we're like, okay, well, as a 6'4", 290-pound man, I'm gonna politely ask you to stop talking during the show. For you as a musician. Oh, it said your recording has stopped.
Sorry, I had a call.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just silenced it.
Nope, it's all good. I usually put my phone on airplane. That's why my phone.
Yeah, I should have done that too. I'm sorry.
Calling it. Yeah,
I can do it. I will do that. Hold on. Let me just do this here. All right. Okay. Now we're in airplane mode.
Shit. Now he's gone. Where the fuck? What was I talking about? Shay?
Whoop. You were talking about him opening for Little Feat and what it's like to play solo.
Sorry.
Chompers.
We were talking about chompers.
Chompers.
Yes. Yeah. Chomp. Yeah. It's such an American thing.
So it is an American thing, because what I was going to ask is, like, for us, like, we know how much it sucks in the crowd, right? And especially in some venues, like, some guys are using like a tin can, right? Like, it's not a tin can, it's like $1,000.
No, it's you know, it's hard. And I played in Europe years ago, and at first it was disarming how like quiet and attentive they were, and you thought maybe like they weren't into it, and then like they erupt in applause at the end of the song. They wait until the song is over, and you know, it's also a jam band thing, I think. You know, and that's been sort of something that in my career, like I started, you know, 100% jam band, and I've sort of become a songwriter who likes to jam instead of like a jam guy that writes songs. At least that's how I see it. But, you know, I still get, you know, I play a lot of the jam type shows and venues, and it can be a challenge. You know, I've learned which songs to just leave out of the set, because, you know, frankly, like I'm not too proud where like I need to play what I need to play. Like, you know, I can read a room and you know, I'm there to entertain. So, you know, I'm cool with that. But yeah, it's the chompers.
So
definitely
when you're when you're reading that room, we talked about what was in your back pocket in college with a couple of dud and some of those like Mount Rushmore guitar players. Mm-hmm. What's the song that you love laying into? Or even singing, I guess. It would be both. Like, what is the one that you love to sing, and what's the one that you love to play on the guitar?
Well, if you're talking about like to read the room and like, so like, I'll show you. I got this guitar here. It's this.
Yes, I love these things.
Cigar box guitar, and
yeah,
it's sort of like when in doubt, whip it out kind of thing, where like no matter what's happening, everybody freaking loves this thing. So
that's awesome.
You know, and it's really fun. So it's always like, hey, look at me, pay attention, kind of thing. But it depends, man. And I don't mean to be like eluding the question, but it's like if it's a room where everybody's quiet and listening, some of my more like tender, sensitive songs, like I really enjoy singing when there's a room full of people listening. But if it's a party room, then we have a couple bangers that we resort to and that like are really fun to play. It's all about the vibe. I've learned to just accept whatever the vibe is of the show and try to meet it.
Yeah, but is it hard for you sometimes when you want to come in? Because like mentally you have to be in a place, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so like to always have to be party or a shredder, right? Like that's got to be taxing on you.
It can be hard. It's like at the end of the day, I'm grateful for the fact that there's people watching me play music for a living. So like, I'm not going to complain too much, but like, yeah, sort of trying to shed the jam band, moniker, not fully, but just as like a way for people to come and appreciate my songs. It's been a challenge, and I'm not trying to be one of those, pompous, self-indulgent artists that feel like it's all about them. Because in the end, I'm trying to connect with people. So if like people are there and that's how they're connecting, like I'm happy with that. But yeah, I mean, as an artist, it can be tricky, when it comes to creating and writing into like, for me especially, I've so much I covered that like sometimes it's difficult to say, okay, here's what they want. So a good friend of mine said, don't give them what they want, give them what they need. So I try to like keep that in mind as like I've come to the conclusion that me digging as deep and as authentically as I can is probably what's going to go over the best, rather than trying to like hit a moving target of what I think they want, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Or just trying to make a point and then living and dying on that sword.
Yeah, I made a decision long ago that like I couldn't be that. Like I'm not like, I didn't get into it to be like a flashy performer. I just love music, and then like I love to play for people and connect with people. So like that being said, I was never going to be like a pop star. I know that surprises you, I'm sure, but like I was never going to just like people have tried to like get like other songwriters to like submit songs to me, like other labels that I've worked with in the past, and like presented me with this like middle of the road shit that they think is a hit, and I'm just like, well, no, I'm not going to do that, because even if it is a hit, I don't feel it enough to perform it every night.
Yeah.
It's not you.
So yeah, live by the sword, die by the sword, I guess. It's definitely, I think, it's been it can be sort of tough as a career when you have that mindset of not wanting to play the game, so to speak, or not feeling the need to like just give them what they want.
Or sell out, right? Like
Yeah, I
you're
mean, yeah,
no longer going to say, "Hey, this is what I want to stand behind." Oh, this is the poppy catchy tune that they want me to play that'll double my room size. But then
yeah.
you're going to play that. You're going to play that 200 times a year. And are you truly going to be a happy musician or artist?
I mean, I don't know. I guess if it made a few million, maybe I'll. Chuck Berry said, "Look, Chuck Berry said his favorite songs was the ones that they wanted. He'll play Johnny B. Good every single night, because that's the one that made him the check." So there's a point to
Well,
that.
and then the last thing I want to talk about is as a family man, as a girl dad, how has it been like being on the road, coming back? What is it like? Do you miss some of these moments? How is it? How do you stay connected? Does your wife bring the girls with you to shows? How does some of that go about?
It's an ongoing discovery. She doesn't bring them out like on tour, but like summertime, we'll pick one of the festivals maybe that I'm doing. That'll be a good hang for the family for the weekend or something. And we'll try to do that. And then obviously if there's anything local, like outdoor stuff, they love to come to. It's hard, I mean, it was a really busy year last year and it was tough. It's just tough to stay connected even when you try. Like when I mean, you have girls the same age as me, like trying to FaceTime 5-year-olds
Yeah,
Like
it's not.
they're just like putting on the poop head filters, and it's like it's funny, but like
especially Cody's kids, man. Those are his kids.
yeah. But and then you come home and there's a definite like reintegration period that's just natural where like I've been gone for a couple weeks and in a totally different headspace, and then you come home to be dad and husband and family man and house, taking care of the house guy and all that stuff. And it's when coming off the road, it's definitely can be challenging, but I have a very supportive wife, and it's we just learn as we go. I don't have any special answer for that. It's made it all.
Well, I did read that
True.
you do a lot of meditation as well, right? So
I
is
do.
that something that
Yeah.
you've found that really helps you? Because we had
Yeah.
Andy Hall in the dungeon here, and he talked about how much, because like the disconnect for you guys, it's funny, like even musicians have honey-do lists, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
life doesn't stop, but for a lot of fans, they don't see you guys as people, like as real people, right? It's just the person on the stage that's always performing and always doing this stuff. And I guess that's why for me it's nice to like peek behind the curtain and see like what is it that you do for yourself, right? So like meditation does help you. Like we know that we see going to Billy because he puts a lot of this stuff on social media, is like whether it's tinkering with watches or bass fishing, right? Or playing with mini skates. Like there's stuff that you guys do for yourself. So like what has been some of those outlets for you to keep coming some of that sanity and then get you back into society?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's essential. Meditation is something that I started doing, couple years ago, and that's been great, just to keep the stress levels down and to keep centered in the midst of like whatever is going on and wherever I am and whatever kind of sleep I got last night and whatever. It just that it's like a mini nap for your brain. But and then I think for me it's like if I'm not gonna, as an artist and a creator, to be constantly creating, it's like there's two ways it could go. I could just go off the deep end and create all the time like that and lose my mind, or I can try to keep the clearest channel possible. I don't think there's any middle ground. It's like if I'm not gonna go nuts, then I gotta like be like on my shit, because otherwise it'll just be like lame. If that makes sense.
Well, there's a duality there too, because I would imagine like as an artist, a successful artist, you get a lot of nutrients, so to say. You get a lot out of being creative. It makes you feel like a whole person. But the other side of that is being creative can be extremely draining as well. So
totally, especially these
days. Yeah, I bet. So I assume the meditation helps with that. That's one of those things I need to do some Googling and figure out a good way to get started with that.
Man, I do transcendental meditation, TM, and it's 20 minutes a day, twice a day, which was the sort of attractive part to get me started, because it seemed like an easy commitment, and it kind of is. And so that's what I know. I was talking to my friend about it. He's like, "Yeah, I should have gotten into the TM. I got into the one where you got to do it an hour a day, and so I'm constantly like not doing it." But yeah, it's other than that, I try to exercise. I mean, just like normal, boring stuff. I play a lot of guitar. That guitar becomes that for me, a lot of like meditative stuff. Like even when I'm not just like practicing or working on something, I just like to sit there and play, and it just centers me, grounds me. And then,
that's when it's a true love, right? Like even when you've been doing it for years, you still pick it up because you're getting something from it.
Totally. And yeah, man, it's like I said, it's been a constant evolution. I really try to I've been really just trying to be in the moment when I'm at home, as best I can, and not be thinking about the road or not be thinking about the songs that I have to work on, or like, because I've been there where I've been not able to handle both worlds at once. And that was sort of when I think I ran into a lot of, things with my own mental health that I needed to take care of. And I think now it's just like compartmentalizing and really just one feeds the other. You know, if I'm in the moment with my kids when I'm with them, then I go sit down at the workbench to work on stuff, and I feel more grounded, and I feel like it's got more purpose. But if I'm like thinking about, you know, next week while I'm sitting there with my kids, then, you know, it's distracted time with them, and then, you know, it's just staying in the moment, I think, is really, it sounds so new agey, and I like hesitate talking like that because there's so much like cheesy new age shit out there on the internet these days for
now you
people.
Gotta show us your Kool-Aid cup, right?
Yeah, no,
but I'm not.
I
I'm
actually
so
appreciate
skeptical
that.
of that shit. I'm so skeptical.
Yeah,
Like,
same, same.
But it's fucking true,
healers and
man. It's
influencers in the
true,
world.
and we sound crazy, but it's only crazy
Freaky.
to the people that
Yeah.
haven't felt it, right?
It's a crazy world, man. We're getting hit with so many things at once all the time, and like our phones are draining our souls. Like, you guys know that. Like, we just can't stop looking at the fucking things, and it's really like, just to stay grounded and sane, and especially as a dad, now that I have like actual responsibilities, and like I can't just like piss my life away and just like, you know, fuck off
So
on my own. You know, like I have to be a good person. You know,
I
I have to.
travel.
Yeah,
I
go
travel
ahead.
for work sometimes, and my wife calls me and she goes, "You better not fucking die," because my daughters cry when I'm gone. She's like, "Listen to this right now," and she's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Where's Daddy?" It's like, God damn it,
Oh,
right? So like, we always have that burden and that pressure, right? And it's
yeah,
hard for
yeah.
us. I feel like even for men at all to like talk about those things and to talk about mental health and the pressure.
It's true.
It's important because like I come from all male family, right? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Right.
fucking said so, and you want
Yeah,
to,
you're a
I'll
fucking
give you a
pussy.
reason to
Right.
cry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
like just
Yeah.
like the wildest shit. And
You
now
guys are
I'm
giving
a,
me flashbacks right now.
and now
Yeah,
and now
I
I'm a
mean,
girl.
we're all
Now
probably about the same age. We grew up in like probably like similar circumstances where like that's all our, you know, dude, don't be so fucking gay about, you know, blah blah blah.
yeah,
It's like, you know, it's like it's just a macho thing that it's really hard. It took me a while. Even, you know, I just come from like a regular, you know, hardworking family, and it was like, you know, you're not fucking depressed. Like, you just gotta
yeah.
fucking stop being lazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's a stigma that our generation above us like didn't talk about that stuff,
They
and
just
it's
hid it
real.
all, right? And it
Yeah,
fucking ate them alive, and they were
yeah,
miserable,
right.
right?
And
And
it's
for
real.
us, we're trying to fight through it, and that's why I want to thank you, because it's people like you. It's music, right? I talk all the time about music is my church, right? It's
Mhm.
the energy that I get from it, the lyrics that I can hear and interpret and feel. Even if it has nothing to fucking do with the story you tell, I don't give a shit because I'm interpreting the way that I want to
That's
for
I love that.
myself,
I love that.
right?
Yeah, I wish it was all like that, but you know, they force us to talk about our songs ad nauseum with little 30-second videos and clips and make sure that, you know, everybody knows every little detail about what we did that day.
And that's where it's like it's social media, it's bullshit, right? It's all fake. You can like and people know this. I'm a pot stirrer on social media because I know how to rile people up with the dumbest shit. And then they meet you and they're like, "Holy fuck, like that's not," and they're like, "Oh, I see what you're doing." Right. And it's
Right.
like it's shitty because in the society we live in, we have to exploit that. When realistically, I just want to get people to come on and talk to us
Right.
and have real conversations like this,
Right.
right? But
Right.
like nobody's gonna fucking ever listen to it if you're not doing the dumb shit that plays into it, and it's a
It's the truth,
double-edged
man.
sword.
There's so many musicians out there like to get seen amongst the you know, the sea of bearded white dudes that write songs and play guitar. I mean, Jesus Christ, how boring can you be? You know,
Listen,
so
we're middle-aged white dudes that started a fucking podcast, okay? It's
yeah,
like a
No, wait, no, we're
fucking
trailblazers. No one's ever done that
yeah,
before,
right.
Cody.
No one's ever done that. Yeah, hey, you're so edgy.
walking.
I am 40. I have an opinion. You're going to hear it. That's
That's
Listen,
right.
we're not 40 till August, buddy, but
That's
we
fair.
will
That's
be
fair.
soon.
Okay.
But Chris, all right, so the last thing is, so you have Little Feat. Where can people find out tour dates? Where can they buy your music? How do they get
Plug all the
merch?
things.
Let's
It's
get all the
Cris
things Cris Jacobs.
Cris Jacobs. That's Cris, no H. There's a Congressman Cris Jacobs with an H, and that's definitely not me. But it's CrisJacobs.com. I'm on all the, you know, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all the stuff, and all the tour dates are on CrisJacobs.com. And then all the social media stuff. You can find me on there. And yeah, I'm doing a Little Feat run, and then got some stuff this summer. I'm working on new tunes, and hopefully hit the studio in the fall for the next round.
Good shit, man. I'll try to make it out to see you if you ever come to Colorado again.
Where you
let
guys
us know.
based?
I'm 3 miles from Red Rocks, so I'm in Morrison.
And I'm in Boulder.
Yeah.
So
cool. We were just out there at the beginning of
April.
April.
I know you were, and I was out of town during your show, and I was fucking pissed about it.
Yeah.
Was that when you were down south?
Yep. So shit happens, but I'll catch you next time. You gotta pay the bills. Gotta take care of the girls, right?
I hear that, buddy. Yeah. Well, we come out there at least once, twice a year. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Mecca, man. I need a full-time job just to pay for shows. It's
no doubt.
But it's beautiful, and I love it. And thank you, man. And thank you for being real, and thank you for being you. We don't do cookie cutter. That's not who we are. So I'm glad that it was raw and real. You guys, go follow Cris. Go see him. If you haven't listened to his stuff, start from front to back, because you will hear a transcending of all the different genres of music. You will see how he learns and continues to improve himself, not only as a guitar player, but as a lyricist as well. Cris, thank you so much, man.
Oh man, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, guys, pleasure.
All right.